Good evening. Welcome, welcome. I think I moved, oh, there we go, it's okay. I was going to say I moved the microphone, but it's still all right. Nice to see you all. It's nice to sit together. So tonight I wanted to talk a little bit about the holiday season. It's not uncommon to see reference to or hear reference to or something about this idea of a wish list. This idea of, things that are wanted. This exists year-round. We often have wish lists. We even have, Amazon, right? Just has a little wish list. All these online, I shouldn't say all, many of these online things just make it as easy as possible for you to just click, and there you go. You can make a list of all the things that you wish that you had, that you wanted. And so this way there's, and maybe in particular this time of year, I don't know, there's this valorization of desire. Like it's really held up, oh, what is your wish list? What do you want? Whether that's because of the New Year, because of Christmas, or for other holidays. What is this sense of what do we want? Or maybe it can be interpreted as, well, what should I give you so that you'll be happy? Or what am I going to give you so that I'll be happy, so that I'll feel good about myself, or something like that. This intersection of desires and objects being exchanged and happiness, or maybe that we could just say this time of year, we could just highlight the beauty actually of opportunities to reflect on and maybe act on, those people that we care about, that are important to us, are part of our lives, and to express care, love, appreciation, in whatever way that shows up. I was helping my mom with her Christmas cards. My family celebrates Christmas, and it's really sweet, right? She's been sending Christmas cards to these same people 50 years, and there's a little newsletter that goes with it. This year we did X, Y, and Z and stuff like this. It's a beautiful, beautiful gesture, I think. And of course, she receives some too, and it's nice. But this idea of what you want or desire, often has a bad rap. Gets a bad rap in Buddhism. This idea of that, desire just leads to suffering. And I remember somebody, this was years ago, when they discovered that I was a Buddhist practitioner. This is something that first thing what they wanted to say is, oh yeah, I heard that Buddhism. I don't like desire, but how crazy is that? I mean, you can't even desire to not have desire, or you can't desire to be awakened. I was like, no, it's not like that. It's not like that. But that was their kind of idea on the outside looking in, and certainly maybe when we first start practicing, and maybe I had that idea too. I can't remember this idea, like, oh yeah, we somehow should be free of old desires, and that's not quite how it works. That's not quite how it works. And so today I'd like to unpack a little bit this idea of desire, and partly of how it can be a big support for our path to greater freedom and peace and ease, as well as, it can be problematic. So maybe I'll start by saying, of course, in the very broad sense, that desire is just a natural part of the human experience. Of the desire to eat when we're hungry, desire to use the bathroom when the body needs to eliminate waste. Right? These are just natural things that happen. We also have, just these leanings, we might say, or inclinations, or aspirations, or, this going a particular direction. Of course we do. Of course we do. We're not trying to get rid of this or deny it or somehow turn ourselves into machines. That would be awful. We're not machines. We're humans. And we have human bodies and human temperaments. That's just the way it is, and it's a beautiful thing. So, but there's also a way in which we also have cravings and addictions and some clingings that are harmful to ourselves, harmful to others. That's part of the human condition too, very often. And so the Buddha, of course, he didn't teach that all desires should be eliminated. These healthy ones, the desire for food or connection, or the desire for not causing harm, or for the desire for greater ease, greater freedom, greater peace. Of course, those should be cultivated and worked with. And instead of trying to eradicate all the ones that we feel like, oh, I shouldn't feel this way or something like this, can we understand them and transform these desires into something that can be helpful? So, as you might imagine, classically in the Buddhist tradition, that the desires are put in two camps, those that are helpful and those that are not helpful. Kusala is the Pali word. I'm translating it as helpful. It's kind of our experience of it is as helpful. There's all kinds of other English words that we could use, but I'm going to stick with this idea of helpful. Helpful for more ease in our life. Helpful for more peace. Helpful for more freedom. Helpful for more ease, equanimity, all kinds of these things that we really want in our life. So the helpful ones, we could say, are those that are aligned with well-being, that contribute to well-being. Maybe that's just a simple way to think about it. And it's not only well-being for ourselves, but contributes to well-being for others. And I am making a distinction here between well-being and pleasure. Well-being is a sense of that promotes health and balance and some stability and spaciousness, as opposed to just pleasure that just leads to wanting more pleasure and can lead to heedlessness and things that make our life go awry, or can make our life go awry. So those, not only promoting a sense of well-being, but they're characterized by the experience of some spaciousness or some lightness. I mean, this is like such a small example, but today while I was out for a walk, apparently it's the conditions for lots of mushrooms to pop up. And it was just so fantastic. I'm walking along, I'm like, whoa, wow. And just they were just ginormous. This huge, like white mushrooms, and I just took delight in them, walking a little further. And then I saw some that were a different color, and they were so small. They were so cute, and I just felt my heart like, who knew that underneath the ground were all these rhizomes of these fungi, and then there was this desire to, well, how many different types of mushrooms are here? So while I'm walking along, I'm keeping an eye, and I don't know, it was just fun. And it just made me appreciate, like, wow, well, these are here all the time under the soil, and we just don't see them until it's dark and rainy, and I don't know exactly what the conditions are, but apparently the conditions are being met right now, at least in some places. So this desire to like feel that delight again when I'm seeing all these different mushrooms, different types, different colors, and different places, and so there's this sense of lightness and a little bit of a uplift, we might say, associated. That's just, it's harmless desire. And maybe that's a silly example. But we could say that desire for spiritual growth, desire for liberation from suffering, or we could say desire for not causing harm to ourselves or to others, to live an ethical life. One in which we're, being sensitive to the impact that we're having on others and in the world. That can show up in so many ways. And then in contrast, we could say, well, this unhelpful desire is the one that we might use the expression craving, that falls into like, I gotta have it. I gotta have it. I don't care about all this other stuff. I gotta have this. And there's this way, this craving has like it's associated with a contraction in the body, and this maybe this compulsion that's moving us forward towards, I gotta get this. Cigarettes, shopping, gambling, alcohol, food. It's amazing the things that we can crave, right? The things that we can really want, and have this sense of, okay, well, as soon as I get this, then I'll feel better. I just got to get this. And I don't care how I feel right now. I'm not noticing how uncomfortable it feels. I just got to get this thing, whether it's a brownie or drugs or whatever it might be, alcohol. It's just, there's no end to the things that we can become addicted to or just crave. So not only like things that we're addicted to, but there's a way that in which we can crave, or maybe I could use a different word also, like cling to. And this can be this idea of maybe even material possessions. This idea is that there's some objects that, okay, as soon as I have this, then that'll be a source of lasting happiness. We don't use that language, but that's what's underneath it. We think, okay, not only will it be pleasurable for a moment when I get it, but it'll be a source of lasting happiness. So I want to just do a little experiment, a little with you guys, or a little exercise here. Because there's this way in which exploring desire can be enormously helpful, very powerful way to find more freedom. Not always easy, not always comfortable, not always fast and neat and tidy, but powerful. So let's just bring to mind something you want. And for now, let's focus, I'll give some examples. So something you want. It could be something significant. It could be like objects, a car, a house, a different place to live, or maybe a relationship, if you don't have one right now, or whatever, something significant, like that would, different job, to live in a different place. Or it could be just something minor or small, like a grande, skinny, half-calf. I wrote it down here. Pumpkin spice latte with 2 pumps extra hot. It's impressive, right? All these things that you can have at your favorite barista can serve you. So it can be whatever you want, something like this. It could be a long-term goal, like a degree, a certification, pay off loans, something like this. Or it could be something just fleeting, like, I just didn't have enough dinner earlier and I'm kind of hungry and I'm thinking of having some burritos or some cookies or whatever it might be. So just bring to mind something that you feel like you would want. And maybe just, feel into what it feels like. Oh yeah, I'd like to have, I finally get a new car that can impress the neighbors and demonstrate that I've finally made it financially successful, or a car that demonstrates that I'm ecologically minded. I get an electric car or something like this. And then just notice how your mood changes when you start to thinking about, oh yeah, as soon as loans are paid off, or as soon as the grandchild is born, or whatever it might be. Whatever it might be. And there's this way in which when we start to think about what we want, there's often this a little bit of an uplift. There's this way in which this sense of sadness or heaviness might shift to, oh yeah, it's going to be great as soon as I get this thing that I want. Can you feel into that? This maybe a sense of uplift that happens. Maybe there's a sense of some tension goes away, or maybe there's some sense a little bit more calm as you're fantasizing about how great it's going to be when what you want finally has arisen, you have it. There's this way in which you might feel lighter or happier or maybe even more connected. Because when there's a sense of a future promise, or something that's bigger that's about to happen, it somehow can make our life seem promising and exciting. Can make it, I don't know, like there's some juiciness to it in some kind of way. And this can be a nice feeling. It's not surprising that we often are lost in fantasies about what we're going to have. We don't call them fantasies, but this is completely 100% fantasy, right? What you were just thinking about is not here, right? This moment. So there's this way that maybe we can stay with this, what we want, noticing how the mind and the body kind of liked to have this sense of wanting. But now can you have a gentle inquiry? What is the subtle belief that is underneath it? Like, what do you think will happen once you obtain whatever it is that is the object of your desire? I'm assuming that there's this implicit belief that achieving it will improve your life. I think that's a reasonable assumption. But can you be a little bit more specific? I want a promotion because then I will earn more money and have more respect. And then when we say that, it's often really subtle. Is this sense of lack. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough respect. They should respect me more. I should have more money. And that doesn't feel good. To have that sense of lack doesn't feel good. Or maybe there's this place, I want to have a bigger place to live, a better place to live, because then I can invite people over and I can have parties and there'll be room for lots of people, and then I won't feel so lonely, maybe. It's like, ouch. Like to feel into the sense of loneliness or the sense of lack or whatever it might be. And so there's this way that often it's these subtle feelings of things not being quite right. I want more. That's actually fueling our desires. But if we can recognize what it is that's fueling these desires and to be with it as best we can, this will lead to greater freedom. This will lead to greater peace and ease. Not just getting one more thing. Whether it's the promotion, whether it's the degree, whether it's the cupcake. Because there's this way in which it's so easy to live our lives just chasing desire after the another. Our whole life could be nothing but this. Just trying to get the next thing. I got to feel better. And we're just completely ignoring this dukkha, this things of sense not being right. This can be subtle or it can be really loud. This is not easy. It's not comfortable. It's not fun. But there's a way when we just simply acknowledge, oh yeah, there's loneliness. I feel lonely. And can we acknowledge it and still have some uprightness and feel the loneliness maybe in the body, the heaviness in the shoulders or tightness in the chest, maybe some pressure behind the eyes. And then can we just, loneliness feels like this. We don't have to say it should be different. In fact, it's just the way it is. Humans feel lonely sometimes. Even people who are very gregarious and extroverted and are surrounded around people, they feel lonely sometimes. Can we normalize and honor and respect our experience? Instead of thinking I should be different. Look at all those other people. They have lots of money. Surely they're happy. Pfft. How many really rich people do we know that are in the media all the time and are clearly not happy? You can see by all the weird things that they do. If they were happy, they would not be out there doing that weird stuff. So there's this way in which recognizing desire, and it brings some uplift. And part of this uplift is recognizing that, or maybe part of us in the present moment, we can just recognize that the illusion of this fictitious bliss, this completely thing that's a fantasy that, okay, as soon as I get that, it's going to be fine, will never, let me say it a different way, our present moment experience will never be as wonderful as this fictitious bliss. It just won't. Here's one key reason. There's a number of reasons. Here's one key reason. This little thing called anicca, impermanence. Things change. The Buddha pointed to this as well, right? There's what we gain, we eventually lose, including this hedonic treadmill. Something that makes us happy stops making us happy. And there's this way in which joy turns into sorrow. Sorrow turns into joy as well. I don't know what soy turns into, I guess, but well, I guess it depends if you eat it. Well, okay, we could go down there, but so it's just things are changing. That's just the natural way things are. But in our fictitious bliss, it's just okay, I'm going to get this, and then it's going to be a source of lasting happiness. Full stop. Right? It's just not going to happen that way. And there's this way in which actually there can be a little bit of a relief to realize, oh, it's not that I'm failing. It's not that I'm doing everything wrong, that I had these fantasies, these ideas about how things should be, and I'm not quite as happy. And this is my story, I'll say, of how I find myself here, having a PhD in biochemistry, and yet here I am being a Dharma teacher. How did that happen? And I'm a very slow learner because I went to school, had all this hyper-educated, and was a biochemist. I love biochemistry, but somehow, having a lot of professional success, and yet, okay, that didn't quite make me happy. And I'm a slow learner because then I went back to graduate school thinking, okay, I just have to learn something else. And became, in Buddhist studies, and I have another graduate degree in Buddhist studies. And then realized, oh, yeah, okay, that didn't quite make me happy in the way that I thought it would either, right? There's this way in which for me, it was this idea that I just have to learn more. I just have to learn more. It's not surprising, having this coming from my family background and stuff. And so how many things have you just thought, okay, well, maybe that wasn't the right car, or it wasn't the right whatever it is. It can be a relief to think no, actually, our ideas about things, I kind of like this word fantasies. which, is a little bit pejorative, but the truth is they're just thoughts. They're just ideas. They're just imaginations we have. They have a place, they have a role, but our actual experience will never match. Sometimes it'll be better, sometimes it'll be worse, but it'll never match what we're imagining. Maybe we'll be happier, it'll be more pleasurable than what we were imagining, but it will change. This is something about fantasies that don't really take that into account. So, what are wants? This is part of, working with them or being with them or honoring and respecting them. They're just simply a thought that's arising from an underlying belief. They're just thoughts. Often they're very quiet, maybe we'll call them beliefs, that they're maybe not, articulated so clearly as thoughts, but, they're completely, insubstantial. But these ideas that promise a different imagined future. But when we look at our desires, what we want, we can kind of like look underneath to see, okay, what is the underlying belief? It'll make me feel secure. I'll no longer feel afraid. People will respect me. Other people will love me. And then we can just pay attention to that. We're complex beings, humans. We have all these things under there, and so much we don't want to acknowledge. But paying attention to our desires and what's underneath it, and can we be with that? And sometimes it can be helpful to drop the labels. Yeah, I want to be loved. I feel unloved. Can we feel that in the body? And then drop the labels and just be with the bodily experience. Right now, it feels like this. It feels heavy. It feels like really tight. It feels like wanting to hide or something like this. So we might reflect on, are we trying to escape from something? Are we trying to reject a part of ourselves? Are we dismissing a part of ourselves? Is there something we're trying to avoid? And then just to be with the experience, to stop avoiding as best we can. And even if it's just for a fleeting moment, just to acknowledge it. Can we hold the space for this? For the bodily experience, for the belief, and then there was underneath that was like, I want to be loved, and then the bodily experience that's associated with wanting to be loved. Can we just be with that, hold this space with it? And this will lead to greater peace. This will lead to greater freedom. This will lead to liberation, a liberation from being pushed around, from always chasing our desires. Chasing the next thing. Okay, well, as soon as I get this next thing, it's going to be fine. We have those ideas when we're young until we get a number of things and we realize, oh yeah, I'm still not happy. So it doesn't help that, somebody to tell you, for somebody like me to be sitting here and to be saying, oh yeah, it's not going to be satisfying. We all have to have that experience ourselves. But as we get older, we realize, yeah, what I thought was going to make me happy wasn't. The pleasures that we seek, they evaporate quickly. And we overestimate how much happiness they will bring. This is part of the human condition. So, what I just described is not easy. It's not fast. It's probably exactly what you don't want to do. Instead, it's so much, and I sort of think like, okay, as soon as I get this car, or as soon as I retire, as soon as I move to that other place, I don't know, right? Our lives are filled with these things that we can want. But here's some things to do to make it easier, or to be a support. Bring curiosity to desires. This is a starting place. Okay, I really do want this, whatever that list was, half calf, extra hot, pumpkin spice, latte, skinny, I don't know, there were some other things listed there. Lower?
2 pumps.
Oh, 2 pumps, that's right, I said 2 pumps, thank you. 3 pumps, I guess if you really want it, right? That was so great, thank you. So just bring curiosity to it. You can bring curiosity to, like, oh yeah, how we're so often focused on the object, that thing out there. But can we bring some curiosity? Well, how does it feel? Both. We can curiosity about that thing, but also what's our experience? We have this idea, it'll be soothing, it'll be comforting, I deserve it, it's the holiday season, pumpkin spice latte. I did go into a particular coffee shop's website and try to get some ideas here, and they have like gingerbread lattes, peppermint lattes, it's quite something, right? For the holidays. But, so, just bring some curiosity to why do I want it? What is the, why do I want it? And what is the experience of wanting it like? Is it feeling like, oh yeah, that we're completely disconnected from our experience often? Instead, we're thinking about, okay, what are we going to have? You know, as soon as I get that, that'll be great. I'm going to maybe share it with a friend. We're both going to get something and spend some time, and I can connect. And like, oh, okay. There's this idea of comfort and wanting to connect. So just bring some curiosity to that experience. And then the second thing that we can do, which is really important in our lives, can we just, in general, in small little doses, cultivate contentment? There are times in our life when things are fine. Maybe we're going for a walk and we just notice there's mushrooms. There's a little bit of delight. Maybe that's just perfectly fine. Nothing has to be different. And just to acknowledge, right now, nothing needs to be different. There's this way in which we kind of to honor and respect those human experiences of contentment, kind of as maybe orients the mind and the body towards, oh yeah, this is possible. It doesn't require that we get everything that we have, or that we want, sorry. It's about, appreciating whatever's arising there in the moment. And there's this way that contentment can feel like the booby prize, like, okay, if I can't get what I want, okay, I'll practice contentment. There's this. But it turns out that freedom is radical contentment. Freedom is feeling like, yep, it's okay. It's not being a bliss blob. It's like, yeah, everything's okay. This is what freedom is. Because the lack of freedom is being pushed around by our desires. I have to get this, I have to avoid this other thing, or whatever it might be. And we don't talk about freedom in this way. We tend to think that freedom means that we can have whatever we want. But it's actually a radical contentment. Like, everything is okay. It's not pretending like there isn't pain. It's not pretending like there isn't terrible injustices and oppression in the world. It's not pretending that all that doesn't exist. It's just recognizing this moment, just this moment, it's okay. And maybe my life situation allows me to help others. maybe my life situation right now is a tremendous amount of difficulties, and I need to pay attention to my responsibilities and what I can do to alleviate some of those difficulties. And maybe I'm have this inclination, this wish to help others. I can't support others as much as I'd like right now. Right now, I need to also pay attention to what's happening here. But I have the contentment that right now, this is okay. This is okay. So cultivating contentment allows us also to be with desire, because we start to really understand that, oh, I don't have to get everything I want in order to feel okay. And not only that, with this contentment is a little taste of freedom. Maybe it's a big taste of freedom. And it's so, I know when I first heard this idea, contentment, I don't know, it didn't sound so appealing, but now I love it. It turns out to be so great. I've done a lot of meditation and had a lot of meditative experiences, but there's something about contentment that is enormously satisfying. And this is what humans really want. Contentment, satisfaction, a stopping of that nagging, like, oh, I gotta get something else. It's not quite right. So desire. Wish lists. We might have a wish list, that's fine. If you find that you really want something in particular, an object, you can practice. Use that as like, oh yeah, there's a lot of desire here, and just use that as an opportunity to maybe understand yourself a little bit better. Look into what is the underlying belief that's fueling that desire, that want. And can we just honor and respect that? It can be a way of finding more ease in the moment. Or maybe you have desire for world peace, for yourself to not cause harm to yourself, to not cause harm to others. Maybe you have desire for having compassion and loving kindness and these types of things in the world, some wholesome desires. And celebrate that, cultivate those. And can we cultivate contentment as a way to help us have the steadiness that we can work with desire, so we're not just automatically falling into desire after desire. So I'll stop there and I'll open it up for some comments or questions. Thank you. Does anybody have something they'd like to say or make a comment on?
Hello, great talk, thank you. So in my experience, when I practice with contentment and desire, sometimes, but not always, I can't quite distinguish between a wholesome contentment and a not so wholesome apathy or disinterest or disengagement. Or on the flip side of the spectrum, distinguishing a wholesome ambition, the kind of ambition that produces excellence in relationships or career or art, the wholesome ambition from unwholesome, egoic desire. And so contentment or ambition, distinguishing wholesome from unwholesome. I wonder if you have any thoughts on that.
I do. I can. This is a great topic. I could give a whole nother Dharma talk on this. So I'll give some bullet points here.
Sure.
So one is I use this for myself. I use this feeling and you can kind of like maybe translate it into something that makes sense for you. It doesn't necessarily what I'm going to describe work for everybody the way I'm describing it, but Things that are supportive, so like wholesome, they have a sense of spaciousness. I'm doing this with my hands. There's this, as opposed to a contraction. And so contraction feels like literally sometimes the muscles are tight, the shoulders are up near the ears, or there's a furrowing of the brow, but sometimes it's subtle. There's a feeling like in the torso, like in the gut or in the heart area, there's like this tightness. So the wholesome supportive has this general sense of openness and ease. So I'll say that's one thing. A second thing that is a little bit more cognitive is if there is a certain clinging to particular outcomes. I'm doing this in order that this happens. Of course, we do things, we often have like an idea about what's going to happen, but there can be a way in which it's, I gotta get this, and then we're not in touch with ourselves or any harm we're causing to others or to ourselves or anything like this. Instead, we're just so focused on getting this thing, dang it. Whether that's ambition, or there can also be a way that a subtle contentment that is not helpful, it turns out not to be contentment, it turns out this apathy or disconnection or something. There's this subtle way in which the outcome is, I don't want to feel. I don't want to feel, as opposed to, I feel this contentment. And so that outcome is often subtle, but often if there's this apathy or disconnection or something, there's often can be a lot of avoidance behaviors, like we're distracting ourselves with something, and or there's some fogginess, like they're just not clear, we're just kind of disconnected, spacey or something like that. So spaciousness versus constriction, and clinging to particular outcomes as opposed to, oh yeah, this is the next right thing to do. I imagine it's going this direction, but I'm just doing the next right thing to do is what I'm focused on. Is that helpful?
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I also kind of wondered about energy level in there as well, where contentment, if it's really relaxed, there isn't a great drive, a compulsion to act. With spaciousness, ease, relaxation, there can be a nice contentment and a settling in, such that you don't feel any particular urge to go and create a great work of art or create a great project at work or overcome a hurdle in a relationship. You're just so relaxed and at ease. So I wonder about that energy. Where does that energy come from? And perhaps
I want to challenge this,
Yeah,
actually.
sure,
I want to
sure.
challenge this idea. I think with contentment, for me, it kind of like frees up energy that otherwise is associated with trying to avoid things or something like that. Things are happy. Then it's also like inspiration. Like there's new ideas for art or for, it's often when insights can arise, like, oh, right. Oh, okay, this problem can get solved by doing X, Y, or Z, and then off you go. So there can be some energy with this too. Because often when there's strong drive, what's fueling it sometimes is some discontent, right? It's like, okay, this has got to be different. So, and the drive comes from, I guess. So there can be energy with contentment as well.
Cool, yeah, very interesting landscape. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, maybe I'll end this evening. I want to say something cute about wish lists. Checking it twice. I don't know. See, I don't know. Just this idea that desire is just part of our experience, and is there a way that we can use it to support greater freedom, peace, and ease for ourselves and for others, So, thank you, and on my wish list is for you all to have a safe travels home and nice, I guess New Year's is next year, a week from now, so a nice holiday season if you're celebrating holidays. Thank you.